We did it.
Yeah, look at that.
So as I mentioned to you, I've worked at a lot of liberal companies in I'd say the past like 8 years. One thing I noticed was that whenever there was any type of tension between different viewpoints, people often were more concerned about making sure that in that moment they looked like the proper advocate and leaned on the right side, rather than actually thinking down the road in terms of like what's actually going to get us to a place of better conversation and progress. I would love to take on interviewing people who I disagree with. But here are my two main concerns. My one friend who's gay is like, any Trump supporter is basically making a vote against my safety. So what do you say to people who they're so passionate about their beliefs that there's the argument that we shouldn't even be bridging any type of conversation to begin with?
There's a couple of pushback arguments I would suggest.
Yeah.
One of them has to do with the role of allies in this work. The whole reason that I created the Ally Conversation Toolkit, which is sometimes called the White Ally Toolkit,
right,
is because there's a special role that people who are not the victims of a system of oppression need to play. One could argue that the privilege of not being a victim of that oppression gives people a certain advantage if they're willing to use it, if they're willing to resist the tendency to be hyper-reactive, condescending, and to some have argued to borrow the outrage from other people. People are not persuaded when they're shamed or when they're made to feel guilty or stupid. That's not what actually is affected. There might be an argument for your friend to not engage those people. That's different than whether you should engage those people. I would argue that if you are committed to the uplift and freedom and lessen depression of a people, as people unlike yourself, I would argue that there is an obligation you have to develop yourself and develop your skills in engaging those people. We're in a long-term process of trying to heal. And so there might be some reason to spend a little bit of energy trying to figure out how to engage some portion of those people, because they're not going to change on their own.
I actually had recently a conversation with this guy, Anthony, who's a big Trump supporter, and we found some bridges a little bit in just terms of things we had in common and some values that we could engage in. And I think we were successful in creating some type of like seeing humanity in each other, right? But I didn't leave, the interview didn't end with like a rainbow where he went, you know what, I see what you mean now and everything. And you've really, it didn't, I felt a little deflated. Not to say that that's the only reason why I did it, but it can be hard to gauge a sense of progress, or what's the point?
I would say to that if persuasion is water, you're trying to go for erosion as opposed to a tsunami, right?
That's good.
You're not going to overwhelm people with your brilliance and then they just crumble because you were that good. That's not how it actually works.
Right.
Sometimes people have epiphanies that you can catalyze, but mostly they don't. So your job as the persuader is to calm down first, right? And to let go of the vision that because of your dramatic, fantastic intervention, the person will be shifted in one conversation. You're trying to plant little seeds, or you're trying to plant seeds, whatever metaphor you want. You're trying to hit a bunch of singles and doubles and not try to swing for the fences all the time. Because as we know, Babe Ruth, he had the most home runs for a while and had the most strikeouts. Ultimately, we need to not be so committed to the idea that they're going to change in one conversation, because that very commitment that they sense keeps them from changing.
And it also, I would argue, maybe isn't just, it's likely going to be the plays of people like me, and then additionally more people. Like I might not be the one that is the person that is in that moment, right? But it's I could be a piece of it.
It's funny. I saw a thing just last week where this guy was trying to he was pounding these spikes into a rock, and then 8, 9 of them. And then after doing it for all 9, and they went back and doing a couple more, then all of a sudden it split with one blow. Well, the other was counted. It just looked like
right.
Like one blow, he split a rock. That's not what happened.
It's very uncommon to hear people speak like this. Like a lot of times, if you're for a movement, it's about how much you yell and you berate people with it. And so this entire concept of stuff you teach is so rare. How did you find yourself in this like lane of thinking?
I think early in life, I had an experience of thinking about the oneness of all people because I discovered I was adopted.
Oh.
And I was like, if all people are common, if I was just in this family because of circumstance, I could be anybody. So there's a kind of a oneness thing. And so I can't be that much different than these people I want to call idiots or fools or evil, whatever.
Right.
So the task is to figure out how to find the common humanity. And so I've landed on dialogue approaches as a part of that. The message of oneness is, that's what the Dalai Lama talks about.
Right.
But you don't have to go to that level. Compassion just works better. You can affect somebody if you're over them in a hierarchy. If you're the teacher and they're the student, or the adult and they're the child, yes, your anger can work with them, your shaming can work with them. But if you're peers, that is highly unlikely to work. You can ask all the people who love getting angry. You can do the Dr. Phil question. How's that working out for you?
Yeah.
In terms of actual persuasive effectiveness.
It reminds me of the Lincoln Republicans during Biden's election. I was following that Twitter account, and it was everyone was sharing why they had been, still identifying as Republicans, but why they were making the shift to vote for Biden. And every single story was, my wife had been talking to me about this for years, and I'm finally seeing X, Y, and Z, or, after having some great conversations with my more liberal friends, I need to just make a change in this. No one's story was, I was screamed at on social media by somebody, and I decided I should just vote for, like not one person. Right. Yeah.
And some people in my classes I taught about persuasion, somebody said outrage is addictive. So we can look at that too. Like,
yes,
not always outrage addictive in general, but then the outrage, like we're all connected to the social media outrage machines. They've made us more addicted to that. And people have studied that. I think one of my articles said, to white allies, your anger belongs in the streets, not at home. I am not saying that anger is not useful. Palette of anger that energizes is great when you're organizing meetings, when you're canvassing your side, but when you're trying deeper canvassing of people who disagree with, you need to let that go, because that's not only not helping you, it's actually hurting you.
I think that's important too, because it means that just because you are keeping yourself calm in the moment to try to build a bridge doesn't mean you don't have that anger, or doesn't mean that you don't appreciate or understand why other people have that anger.
Conversation is effective across the divide if two things happen. One is that for some amount of the conversation, you are your authentic self, not necessarily all. But for someone, it's your authentic self. And the second one is you've not created such a toxic experience for somebody that they don't want to talk to you again.
Those are two great bullet points to kind of look at when having a conversation and trying to gauge, was this productive or not?
Remember that song? I don't know if you're old enough. Remember that song, Things That Make You Go,
Yeah.
You're not trying to go for, oh my God.
Right.
You have delivered to me the wisdom from the gods. You're trying to go, I never thought about it like that. And if you can get that, then you have succeeded. I encourage people to focus on storytelling as their way of persuasion. Because sharing of stories tends to affect a different part of our brain that is more effective in persuasion than facts or concepts.
Do you ever just wake up and want to yell at people to like tell more stories? Like, how do you just like keep it together? Because you must see so many people throughout your day not going about this in the right way, and it must be infuriating.
Well, yes, the road is long with many a winding turn, right? More on my mind is what we're headed for in the next years. Basically, people are predicting we're headed for a potentially violent split.
Yeah, no, I've been reading about that. Yeah.
We're going to be incentivized to see each other as enemies. Now is the time for people who run values-based organizations like churches to spread these tools of compassion-based dialogue so that when the stuff hits the fan, at least people have some practice in seeing the people who look on the other side of issues as not a complete enemy.
The goal is going to be to find a way to make responsible dialogue as sexy as rage. Like, I'm even like guilty of that. Like, it's nice and kind of therapeutic to watch something where it seems simple. The anchor's mad, and at the end of it, I'm just like, hell yeah. And the problem is right there. I'm on the side of good. Let's all get mad together. Let's all unite it. And it's just like the starting phrase, it's complicated, just doesn't have as sexy of a ring.
I saw a cartoon just like 2 days ago, somebody sent me, where there's a fork in the road, has answers, and it has simple pointing one direction, simple and inaccurate, complex, accurate, and then there's a whole, like a huge throng of people going in one direction and only a couple go in the other, right? And that's just how it is. So it speaks exactly to what you're talking about.
One of my challenges that I want to have for myself is, wouldn't it be great to make, real civil dialogue that gets you somewhere be just as clickable and viral as the rage-based stuff? We'll see what we can find.
How to create social media games where you get more points for having civil interaction.
Exactly, right. That would be a great skill. I would truly follow you into battle. I think you're incredible. You're just awesome. I'd love to conduct more interviews and touch base with you in the future.